Hello, it's the invisible teacher again, class. Before I go on to tell you some more and we begin to discuss more about the three stanzas that of Swinburne's poetry that I have highlighted for our times, I want to just tell you a little bit about his own life. You will begin to see where Flowers for Algernon, if you've purchased it by now, comes into the discussion. Before I turn to Swinburne, I just want to say it was a psychology teacher, not a science fiction teacher or a creative writing teacher, but a psychology teacher that directed us to Flowers for Algernon. I don't think it necessarily is science fiction. We are aware that people are given Ritalin on a daily basis now. Ritalin, I've forgotten what it's called properly. But you will find in that book that one of the main things that it sets off with is a young boy being terribly bullied. Really terribly bullied. Now, it may seem as though that may have nothing to do with Algernon Charles Swinburne, because he was of a richer family than probably the Algernon in Flowers for Algernon. But he went to Eton. His father was a captain. He actually grew up on the Isle of Wight. And he went to Eton and suffered severe beatings, almost on a daily basis, floggings and beatings. Now, I just want to say also that some of the experiments in Flowers for Algernon might really have something to do with Swinburne as well. Not experiments exactly, but the way that, the main character gets really lifted up in society and very, very famous, and then is more or less forgotten about again. Swinburne was, in some ways, very influential, extremely influential. He inspired poets such as Thomas Hardy, Wordsworth, Shelley. I will go on to tell you more about that later in another episode. But for now, I just want you to consider the fact of the beatings and the bullyings that Swinburne probably had to, we know, it's rumoured, had to put up with. Before I do go on, before I leave it there, I also want you to consider before we go on to the next session, the fact that Swinburne was considered to be a pagan in some ways and be interested certainly in paganism, and that like W.B. Yeats or Yeats, I don't know how the Irish pronounce it, I pronounce it Yeats. Like him, he had a lady friend, an older lady friend, who encouraged him and gave him some support. When I say lady, I mean an aristocratic friend like W.B. Yeats had. And that is interesting in itself, that there were such ladies about in society that were patrons of the arts and artists. That's all I want to say for now. I'll be back with you next time.